Good morning. It's Jessica Magoch, CEO of PM Sales Partners, teaching you everything I learned. Notifications are going off like crazy here. Be quiet, guys. Recruiting, treating, and leading oh my gosh, my mouth is not working today. I'm so sorry, guys. So everything I learned, recruiting, training, and leading a 9-figure sales team. Sharing it with you so you can launch and scale your sales quickly with some of the systems and methodologies. So today, and I think most of this month, I'm going to be doing client shout outs because I have not been honoring my clients enough, and I think it's really important that I do that. And so this week, we are going to honor Brooke Elder at Social Tenacity. So Brooke, she teaches, she teaches network marketers how to sell without being a spammy weirdo. So I don't know, I definitely have lots of friends in network marketing. And every so often you'll get those random messages like inviting you to their group or inviting you to check out, their opportunity. And it feels spammy, right? So she has a couple programs, and in the past, her program has been helping them to create their own brand and their own company, their own mission outside of just what they're selling at their network marketing company. And her story is really amazing. I encourage you to check it out. So she was over $100,000 in debt, and her, helping her husband start a business, and her husband came up to her and said, I think we have to file bankruptcy. And she was like, no, she just knew that there was another way. So she, of all things, what did she do? She went out and hired a coach. She hired her own coach because she had this idea in the back of her head of how she could help other people grow businesses. And she really wanted to get it out into the world. So she hired a coach for $10,000. And in the next month, she earned $10,000 back from the business that she built. So now she teaches other people how to build their businesses. And she brought me to Texas last week because she's launching a new program, which is really about stepping outside of your network marketing company and building your own brand, your own business, your own, whether it be coaching or consulting or services, products, books, all of that, building your own brand so that the network marketing is just a stream of income. So it's really genius. And, for that community, it's definitely what they need in order to realize the freedom that they want. So Brooke brought me onto her team in August, and she had coaches she had about a 6-person sales team. She had coaches in the past. She had positive and negative experiences, but she said, when she came to me, she said, all I know is that when we have a sales coach on staff, our sales are higher, and we don't, it's lower. Even our worst sales coach, we've had higher sales. And that's because of the accountability and the coaching. So she brought me on, and in the first month, we tripled their closing rate. And so that's quite phenomenal. Like, we went from 10 to 30% closing rates. So what that means is that, and she didn't spend any more money on marketing. In fact, she was spending less because it was summer. So her profit margins went up. So you just take what you already got and you close more of it. So that's like pure profit on the bottom line. Minus commissions, of course. So, and she had a commission only sales team. So I also wanted to dissect maybe some of the things that we did with her to get there. So you can either apply it to your own, or of course, come hire us to help you do that. So one of the things we did was, first we evaluated the sales team. Like the first month, I always just spend evaluating. We evaluated the sales team, the sales pitch, the sales process, the accountability standards, all of that. We moved some people around. Some people moved into different parts of the organization. And we went from 6 to 3 salespeople. So we had 3 salespeople, again, triple closing rates, and 3 salespeople. So sometimes less is more in this case. And then we dug in really to some of the key elements that I felt could make a massive difference right away. One was they didn't have any visual element to their presentation. So they were trying to explain the program over the phone to people. And of course, people were, busy taking notes. And I said, when people take notes, that means they're doing that because they need a visual reference for what they're hearing. And visual elements get processed 500 times faster than oral elements. So to have a visual element in your presentation is critical. The second thing is we moved the calls from phone to Zoom, which was a big shift for the salespeople because now they would be face-to-face with their clients all over the world. And that was, they didn't give me resistance, which was great, but I knew they had resistance. They just didn't show it to me. It is a big switch to go from, just picking up the phone, being, not worrying about if you're in your pajamas or whatever, and then being face-to-face on Zoom. But what I taught them was all of the elements that they're going to, why that's going to increase their sales by not only being able to read the customer's body language, which is huge. I mean, hands down, like phone sales are harder than face-to-face. So if you have the ability to do face-to-face, then do it. So getting, and we thought it would be a challenge to get the clients on the calls, but for them, it actually wasn't a challenge at all. It just took a week to adjust to that. So we had a visual presentation that we could share when we shared our screen, and the clients could see them, we could see them. So that really helped with credibility and developing relationships. The third thing was that I encouraged them to spend at least 6 minutes of the hour. So they were hour time slots, 6 minutes building rapport. So that follows the 10% rule. So if I use 10%, so 10% of the meeting should be building rapport. And typically people will think they're building rapport, but if you go back, it's maybe less than 15, 30 seconds. So people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So the rapport element is really important there. And then, of course, we added in a pre-close. If you take my program, you know what pre-close is. It's basically closing them before you even give a presentation. And then, we adjusted some of the questions, but they had some good qualifying questions, but they weren't qualifying customers for sales questions. So they were qualifying them based on if they were good for the program, if they needed the product. They weren't qualifying based on decision makers, budget, timing, competition, the 5 elements that you need to qualify customers. So we added those back in. That was a little scary because they were used to not talking about the price at all until the end of the presentation. But now we moved it up to before we even presented and made sure we had a qualified call, which means that many times we're splitting the call up into 2. And so, because they were used to, like, if they didn't get it on the first time, they weren't getting it because often, and the reason they wouldn't get it is because it was an unqualified appointment. Like they would be like, I have to go speak to my husband, or I don't have that kind of money, or I can't make that happen. Whereas you could find that out beforehand, and any of those hurdles you could overcome before the appointment. So some cases we split the appointment up into 2 parts. Now, it might sound like, well, why would you do that? If they were doing it in one, why prolong it? We weren't actually prolonging it because, in fact, most of their calls ended up in scheduling a follow-up call. So it's a different way of approaching the same thing. So instead of telling them everything you got and then chasing them after to follow up, because you've told them everything they need to know, they're not going to get back on the phone again unless they want to buy. Whereas in the other example, you're creating an environment so that when you give the presentation, then they can say yes. So that's how we approach the sales process. So those are some of the things we did right away to get those results immediately, and it made all the difference. And I'll preface that with, she has an amazing sales team with the utmost integrity. Only one of them had sales experience before. The other 2 we trained from scratch. But the integrity they have and the enthusiasm for the product is something that is even more difficult to find in salespeople. So those are some tips from you. Go check out socialtenacity.com, especially if you know any network marketers in your world. I'm sure we all have them, and Brooke really teaches them how to build their own business so that they never have to worry about commission changes or compensation plan changes, or their company going out of business and building up this empire and then losing it. Well, that's all I've got for today. Have a wonderful week, everyone. See you next week. Bye.